Hi, I'm James, and today I'm going to be presenting the design which I've created for BPavilion. To start off with, here are some of the renders which best represent my pavilion from inside and out. To start off with, here I decided to look at a couple of exemplar pavilions. Here I chose the Marston Park Pavilion first, which we'll look at. So what I liked about this pavilion was that it was quite long and all of the roof came to a point. It was quite an interesting looking space. It combined curves with nice points, which is kind of what I wanted to reflect in my design. The second one I looked at also was the 2019 N10515101, which again is quite an interesting space to look at and makes people want to explore it, which is obviously what I wanted to do with my pavilion. The roof's quite interesting, which is also what I wanted to reflect. The client which I selected for this project was Peter Taylor. He's an Australian Aboriginal watercolour artist which paints outback landscapes. Here are three of his paintings which interested me the most. So the first one is Uluru, which obviously I wanted my structure to look like. The other two, the parts that interested me from these was the use of water in the landscape, which I also wanted to reflect in my pavilion design, which we'll be seeing later on. With my site analysis of the space, I started off by doing a drawn analysis which explores the wind, pedestrian movement, sun path, and vehicle travel around the area. That was quite interesting because it really made me realise how wide and open the space is and how natural the lighting conditions are in the area. I also liked how across the road at Queen's Wharf there was the mural on the wall, which I thought represented an Aboriginal landscape. So that's also attributing to the factor why I chose Peter Taylor as my Australian Aboriginal artist. So within design development, I started off by doing the word search and picking the keywords which stood out to me, which I then explored more, which finally ended up with this cardboard model of how I wanted my pavilion to be represented. What can be seen here is my proposed design for BPavilion. So obviously the structure represents Uluru with all its geometric forms, and the roof really outlines the overall shape of Uluru. One of the main focuses of the structure is the light, which can be seen on the roof, creating the interesting light tunnels from within the space. Also here can be seen the river, which I explored earlier on. So overall idea behind it was to satisfy the client, but also make it enjoyable for other people of the space. All the openings in it make people want to explore it, which is a great thing. So here is my site plan for the pavilion. It really shows how I've used a fair bit of the space that's provided in the park area of Queen's Park. So it occupies the whole middle structure to its full potential pretty much. The floor plan here, so as we can see it's open on many sides of the space, which is in order for the light to come in, because I wanted to use a large amount of light since Peter Taylor enjoys nature and I thought that natural light would be the best way to light the space up. Also in the middle you can see the river-like structure for the seat, which is quite interesting. The north and south elevations really show how many openings there are in the space. It also gets a good view of all the openings in the roof, which create the interesting light forms within the space. Here are the east and west elevations, which show how many openings there are in the space again and gets a good view of the roof. So the sections here, it shows the relation of the outside the building to inside of it. You can see that the seat occupies a large area of the space. Here are the exterior renders of the pavilion which I've created. These views obviously display how geometric the shape of the pavilion is. Also gets a good view of the colour, which obviously represents the colour of Uluru. Also, these renders really focus on the use of the natural light in the space, which can be seen in many of them transfuses into the middle or the interior of the structure. Here's the interior of the pavilion. Focuses on the light that comes from the holes in the roof, creates interesting light forms on the inside of the space, also focuses on all the openings on the sides of it, which obviously add to more lighting in the area. Also, which can be seen in many of these renders is the river-like structure in the middle that's used as a seat. Here we can see people using the pavilion. This gives off a good representation of the scale of the pavilion through the use of the people. Here we got an interior view of how well lit the space is and the interesting light forms which are created through the roof. The final image which is displayed here is a render of the pavilion combined with a photo of the site. Obviously the pavilion fits in really nicely, makes people want to explore it because it looks like nothing else around the site. Hope you enjoyed my design for BPavilion, and thanks for watching.